This episode of the Ferg, Neal Show podcast is brought to you by my Melbourne International Comedy Festival show. It's called Fergalicious. It's at Trades Hall from the 29th of March until the 23rd of April. Tickets are selling fast. You can purchase them in the bio. Now enjoy this episode with my friend, Mr. Luke Kidgell. All right, Luke Kidgell. Maybe you might be the biggest comedian in Australia right now.
That is definitely not true.
It is true.
What a bold opening. Just come out with fake news like that from the top. God, Tommy Little's pissed right now. So is Carl Barron.
I reckon because 5 years ago, we were talking about it before the podcast. We did a podcast at Melbourne Uni.
I remember we talked about our running times.
Yes.
I feel like
very niche.
50% of the episode was us comparing 800-meter times. And let's do it again. I have not improved those.
I felt your running has improved. And even back then, I remember you being like a big comedian. But now it's gone monumental. It's gone huge. You don't have to be humble.
I a big comedian?
This is not a podcast for humility. The amount of shit that's been talked on this episode by people who are a lot smaller than you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Who else? This is great to know. Who else has come in here? Name names. Who has not been humble? Who's been your most arrogant guest?
I reckon the best arrogant guest was John Saffron. But he deserves to be arrogant. He's John Saffron's like...
I've heard of that name.
When we were growing up, he was like the Louis Theroux of like Australia.
It's going to make you angry again.
You don't know what Louis Theroux is? I forgot that your pop culture references are just non-existent.
No.
I forgot that Luke... I swear last podcast we did a conversation and I think you didn't even know where like the Ukraine was or something.
I know now. They've become a little more relevant since 5 years ago. Ukraine have been put on the map.
Yeah. In your mind.
Well, in everyone's mind. Yeah. Russia took an interest all of a sudden. It's Western Europe.
Yes.
And I mainly know that.
And what's your opinion on the Ukraine?
What's my... Oh, yeah. That's what you come for.
Take. This is what this whole podcast was for.
Hot take? I don't think what's going on over there at the moment is good.
On Sunday, I did a gig, and if you won, you got $500.
Yep.
And I opened, I was like, I'm sending this money to the Ukraine. And then everyone's like, yay. And I was like, I'm not specifying what side it's going to. And they're like, no. I did not win.
There's two sides in there that need aid.
Yes, they both need bullets.
Yeah.
But I reckon, when was the last time I saw you? Because I reckon I haven't, it's got to be, I haven't seen you for a long time.
No, that's not true. I feel like we did a gig together.
The Luke and Lewis gig.
Was that it?
That could have been it in like 2020, last year? 2020?
It was definitely last year.
Yeah, sometime
But then
last
I saw
year.
you at that outdoor gig. We did the gasometer together once.
Oh, yeah.
But that was ages ago
That
too.
was ages ago too, yeah. Because I feel like you're on this tour where it's like, it's a never-ending tour. It goes on forever.
It is ended now. No, it's actually not. I'm going to the UK in like 2 weeks. I keep forgetting that it's not over because it finished in September.
Yes.
And then I was like, I still have to shoot a special. So I just added some more encore shows so I didn't, to stay kind of in the groove of doing the show.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want the special to suck.
Yeah.
Because I've been there before with the first
You've done a
one.
bad special?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't watched your specials yet. As your friend, I feel bad to admit that.
No, thank you. Mate, that's one of the kindest things you could ever do as my friend is avoid that. If you want to attempt the Luke Kidgell Try to Laugh challenge, check out the Whitest Boy That Ever Lived comedy special.
It's not bad. It can't be that bad.
I watched it back right before I shot this one, just as a kind of what not to do, and my girlfriend forced me to watch it. It was a tough watch.
Damn.
Yeah. I think other people enjoyed it. Like, I think I had fans enjoy it.
Yeah. Last time I spoke to you, you were doing the tambourine tour.
And that was the show that I shot.
Yeah.
Terrible shot.
Was it bad? I thought you were having fun. There were guys with tambourines in Vietnam and stuff who were like shaking it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So what happened was I posted a lot of my best material from the first 2 years online as little clips.
Yes.
And then my old management at the time were like, oh, we're going to shoot your Brisbane show. And I was like, sweet, yeah, we'll put out some clips. I didn't really think much about it. And then like 6 weeks before, I shot it in May at the comedy festival in about April. They were like, oh, are you excited for your special? Yeah. And I was like, what's that? And they're like, we're shooting your special in Brisbane. I was like, I thought we were just shooting it for like clips for YouTube.
Yeah.
So I didn't really think about it. They're like, no, we're going to put it on like Amazon. And I was like, what? So then I had 6 weeks to just like conjure up the best material that I had from the last 9 months that I hadn't put online. And that was the special.
That's how we're in different worlds because my management, and I'm not going to talk shit about them, but like your management is like, oh, you've got an Amazon special happening in 2 weeks. Whereas like last week, mine was like, oh, do you want to do a video for the pancake parlor? And I said yes. Absolutely.
Mate, whatever's
I love
paying.
a short stack.
Yeah, even if if they're paying in pancakes, you just do it for the syrup.
I'll be down. I think that was in the contract.
Yeah. No, it was more like at the time we didn't know where it was going to go, but it was assumed either Stan or Amazon or someone. They didn't buy it.
Yeah.
We gave it to them for free.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to get it taken off. That's been my new mission. Yeah, I'm trying to get it off Amazon, which I think I'm the only comedian in the world trying to not have their special on a streaming service.
Is this next special, are you going to release it on YouTube or are you going to put it on? Okay, yeah. That
and
seems like the go, doesn't
it's
it?
Good.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
I've watched it. We've pretty much finished the edit. It's definitely much better. I think I was really made sure this one was at least something I was proud of.
Yeah. If
other people don't like it, hey, that's not up to me, but I think it's good.
I'll tell you what's a good barometer for it being good is that Ruben says it's good and he can't lie. I feel like it's impossible for Ruben Solo to...
There were some bits in it where he's like, you shouldn't say that. Because he opened for me in Perth like a month before. Yeah. And I was like, why? And his justification sucked. And I was like, no, I'm keeping it in.
Because we had the thing where he opened for you and then I opened for him. So whatever I did was in comparison to you and how you two would...
No, I like getting his feedback. I'm going to send him the special before I post it.
I'm talking socially.
Oh, right.
Like we get an ice cream and be like, Luke wouldn't do that or something like that.
What do you mean?
Like he would be like when I was on
you
tour.
would get an ice cream together and then talk insecure. Shit about me. Like Luke hates ice cream. You know he hates cookies and cream? I love ice cream, Fergus. How dare you?
I was a LUKE KIDGELL on that tour. And we became good friends from that tour, I feel like. But we'd be in Perth and he'd be like, oh, when I was here with Luke, we skated down that hill or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, you know when you're in a relationship.
I'm the ex.
The person keeps mentioning the ex. Yes.
I'm sorry, man.
That's all right. It's fine.
Did it seem like he had a better time with me or you?
Well, because of that, I tried to level it up.
You were like, you skated. You're like, we're going rollerblading.
I took us to a drag show and he did not have a good time.
He told me about this.
Oh, really?
I think.
Because he didn't have a fun time.
Because he goes, because then he opened for me again after you toured with him. He goes, the last time I was here, I went to a drag show with Ferg. So then you were the ex and I was the new fling. God.
Drag show's hard to beat.
Yeah, why didn't he like that?
I think he's like...
a bigot.
Yeah, transphobic. Yeah. He hated them.
Yeah. No, I love Ruben. But yeah, what were we talking about? Oh, the special. Yeah.
Well, just on the tour, like it feels like you're doing like 500 seat theaters in towns that have like 300 people.
Yeah. I'm getting ring-ins. I'm getting new people to the town.
It's a wild thing. It's like the tour is like, I don't think there's been a comedian who's done like towns that I didn't know existed until the comedian goes there. Like you do something in Orange, I'd be like, where the fuck's Orange? And I look it up, I'm like, Luke's doing a theater in Orange.
It's near Bathurst. No, that's not true. This year I did a bowls club in Orange and I want to make that very clear because it was daylight, the windows were open and there was a kayak on the stage that the staff refused to remove from the stage because they're like, someone's coming to pick it up on Monday. So I just like had a kayak there as I did my set. I was gonna say, other comedians go to me at gigs like, man, it's like you're crushing it. I think it seems like this glamorous lifestyle. Yeah. I'm performing almost standing in a kayak sometimes.
Ruben and I shared a bed one night in Sydney. So I think our tour...
Me and Blake never shared a bed.
We shared a bed in like a meth den. Did he tell you that?
No.
We were in this place where it was like Ruben booked it and Ruben's like famously cheap. And he's like...
Of course.
You will have 2 beds. I'm like, all right, we better have 2 beds. All right, it'd be nice to not have to share a bed. And then we got there.
That's not nice. I would say the bare minimum is a bed. If you're going to come and open, like if he's going to have someone come and open for him, he needs to supply a bed.
I said that. I'm like, Luke, you definitely didn't share a bed with Luke.
No.
One night we had to share a bed and we're in like a meth den.
Okay.
It was like people coming off. Have you heard of like a methadone program?
What, like a rehab of meth?
Yes. It's like when people on heroin, they're coming off heroin, they're getting their life together, they come to this place. And so the only reason we left is because Ruben nearly got bashed by two people in a heroin den who he went out to tell them to be quiet. And one of them's like, sorry, mate, this guy just got out of jail, so we're celebrating. And Ruben's like, we're leaving tomorrow. And I was like, yes.
Ruben has so much. I love Ruben, and I cannot stress this
I can't
enough.
stress how much I love Ruben.
But the man has some serious unearned confidence if he's approaching reformed meth heads in the night with a noise complaint. I would just be like, hey, maybe we'll leave quietly and efficiently in the morning and put this behind us.
Yeah.
He's like, what does he think they're going to do? Like, he's a reasonable, logical person. So he would have been like, I'm sure if I tell them to be quiet, they will be like, of course, mate, sorry. What does he think that interaction is going to end like?
It ended the best it possibly could, but we didn't get murdered.
He's lucky.
And Ruben's so put together, so he would have gone up to him and like, hey guys, just if you keep the noise down.
I reckon he would have been quite stern.
Yeah, you reckon?
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine Ruben being woken up in the middle of the night. Like, I can't imagine him being like, I'm pretty cool about this. He doesn't even like socializing during the day. So when people are talking at night, no.
He can't stress enough. He did not like the drag show.
No.
He did not enjoy it. What was it like with Pavey on tour? What were any perks, any downsides?
He would hate me to say this, but I will. Happy to. Definitely, his shits are so bad. An absolute low blow there from me, because I could have said anything. I could have, but that's the only pet peeve.
Yeah. I wonder why that is. Is that to do with his like...
I don't know. I think, that's what we all thought. Well, because his cystic fibrosis makes him a diabetic.
Yes.
So the amount of snacks and lollies that guy eats day to day is shocking. And I kept forgetting that he was he's not technically, he is a diabetic.
Yeah.
But I just didn't really know that cystic fibrosis makes you a diabetic.
Okay.
And then by like the first week of the tour, I was like, hey man, you've had 8 packets of Skittles today and 2 Powerades. Is everything okay? And he was like, yeah, this is like my diet.
Why do you strike me as someone who that would just be your diet?
No, I can't do that. I can't do energy drinks either.
Neither can I.
Because I heard some story where a guy from America just dropped dead at like 50 and his blood was syrup, like the consistency of syrup.
I just remember guys in my high school in Geelong who would turn up to Pier 1 with a Monster energy drink.
Yeah.
And that was a big enough commercial not to do energy drinks.
Energy drinks is like a gateway drug.
Yes.
It's not a drug, but it's just
the
like
start of something bad.
Yeah, it's the start of a slippery slope, but that can fan out to many different shitty paths.
I think Blake shitting himself and it being bad is probably the best outcome from having...
Yeah, no, he did it in the toilet. He's very well toilet trained.
Yeah.
I cannot stress that enough. He's not doing poos.
Why does Blake feel so young in my mind? He feels younger than what he is. Because he's 21.
Young. No, but
we're 26, but 21 feels younger than it was.
But I kept thinking he was my age because I don't really have any friends that are 21 except him. And then we'd only ever realize how young he is once we like brought up something pop culture wise. Like we'd be like, oh yeah, that Blink-182 song or whatever. And he'd be like, what? And you're like, you've never heard of The Rock Show? And he'd be like, no. And he has no idea. He's like, oh, Blink-182, the All the Small Things band. And I'm like, yeah. And then like even anything like that, like TV. The only thing he knows about is like WWE, but that's because that was more his generation.
He's proper Gen Z.
Yes.
He's proper.
And it's kind of good in a way to have someone on tour with a different perspective.
He's got a finger on the pulse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He scolded me on the first leg of the tour to stop wearing skinny jeans.
Well,
and I needed that. So I want to thank Blake for that.
Well, when we first met, I felt like you were like the 2010s for me in a way, dress-wise.
And almost still am.
Yes.
I'm literally wearing Vans to your place.
And I'm wearing a shirt as well. But I feel like we're not really, I don't know.
You're more of a fashionable guy than I am. I see you on the gram. Thank you.
Yes.
I
tuck my shirt in
you.
sometimes.
I meant you're welcome. Yeah, you definitely have your finger on the pulse.
Yeah, sometimes.
I just dance to my own beat, man. What can I say?
Well, you're in a relationship. I'm not. So obviously yours is working.
Yeah, but I don't think Meg is with me for my fashion sense. She's not like, oh, another graphic tee. Nice. When I come home from the shops. Oh, more Reeboks. Cool.
Is Meg with one of the, like, in a relationship, you know when you have, like, a partner and they style you?
Yeah, but I think because she's younger than me, she's like 23.
Yes.
So she kind of tries to dress me like Blake.
That's
Which is like it's funny. Like Blake and I sometimes would just come out of the shower or whatever, and then we'd all meet before the show, and then he'd be wearing the same thing as me, and we're like, well, one of us has to get changed. And by the end, we just started rocking up because we thought it was funny, wearing the same things to gigs, and we just make jokes about it on stage. Like we're both wearing like white shoes, blue jeans, white shirt, black jacket, like cotton on mannequin. That's it.
It makes you closer when you're on tour with someone.
Oh yeah,
like Ruben and I. Ruben and I became like a lot better friends.
You're forced to be.
Yes, you can't not be.
You can't wait for someone at an airport in Perth and not be like, "So how are you?" Because otherwise, it's like, "What are we gonna do for 2 hours?" But in the car, like, there's so many times where I don't think people think about that when you're touring. Most of the time, like 80% of the time, it's just all sitting together in silence, and if you don't fill the silence with conversation, you're just traveling to Rockhampton.
Yes.
Along the freeway, looking at sugarcane.
I remember our conversation got so just stringing out with Ruben that he got to a point where he's like, I don't even feel Greek. Like he was having this existential crisis where he's like, I don't really feel Greek anymore. I'm like, but you're Solopatius. Like that's your surname.
Because he hangs out with like white trash like us all the time. Yeah, I probably... Yeah, I feel like you're a little more cultured. What's your background?
Bro, I'm like First Fleet. Like I'm like,
Same.
Yeah. It's too far back. Like way back, like someone Irish stole a handkerchief, got on a boat, and then got here, and then now I'm this. But I've sometimes people like, oh, you look this or you look that, but like,
no, you look. That tracks.
Yeah,
you look like a convict.
If I had to racialize you, like if I had a gun to my head and they said, all right, what is Luke Kidgell's racial identity? I reckon you look like
a man who's ashamed of his white guilt. 100%.
No, you lean into it though. I don't feel like you got shame about it.
Oh, but no, you can't stand there and be proud of this heritage.
You look like a farmer. Has anyone told you that?
Coming from you. If you put on overalls and with a straw hat, you'd look like a scarecrow.
You know that you nearly... one time we did an Instagram live during the pandemic and you said I look like the mouse from Flushed Away.
Yeah, you do.
4 times a week.
From one Instagram live. Had no one ever told you that before? But
one Instagram live you mentioned it and then I probably mentioned it a bit. But then even on TikTok videos that blow up, I'll see it. There'll be someone like, this is the mouse from Flushed Away. It gets mentioned a lot.
Well, clearly I wasn't the only one that had the thought.
But I think you inspired it in thousands of people.
I feel like there was like 70 people watching when I said that. I don't think that was the start of a revolution of a roasting Ferg. But I'm glad that you credit me for that. I'm going to take it.
That was like at the start of year 7, like first day, you're really hoping that someone doesn't come up with an analogy for you. You know what I mean? You're like, fuck, I don't want to be tied to the mouse and Flushed Away day 1 of year 7 because then it'll follow me for the whole high school.
Yeah. I think it's just because he has like the hair tucked behind his ears. He has longer hair, right?
Yeah, I got a haircut yesterday in preparation for this podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How long was it?
It was longish.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was we're back.
Again, you've got your finger on the pulse. You're doing like the long, you kind of look like the Fitzroy Garage Party dude a little bit. I know that's meaner than the other slam.
I had a friend.
You're like, Luke, you can call me a scarecrow 10 times over, but do not refer to me as green vest guy.
Do you know Green Vest Guy?
No, I don't.
I had a friend who's dating a girl who dated Green Vest Guy.
What's the girl? Blake knows both of them.
Yeah, Blake knows all of those people, doesn't he?
He's got his finger on the pulse.
But he's like in the TikTok world of Australian TikTok celebrities. Whereas I feel like you could be in that, but for some reason you're abdicated from it. Like you're not invited to the parties.
No.
Why not?
I make a point of just doing anything else.
But so Blake's sort of like, hey, Green Vest Guy is throwing a little shindig, Lukey boy, you want to come down? And
I think Blake is younger than me. Like he's 21. He likes
insanely younger than.
He likes being a part of that stuff. Like he's still in the phase where if music festivals say if you post about it, we'll give you a free ticket. He still goes. And then I don't know if I should say the name of the festival, but a recent one that happened, he left early. Okay. He didn't even stay for the whole festival. I think he realized halfway through as he was sunburnt and hungover, like just because something is free you are still in a paddock.
Yes.
It doesn't change the fact that you are drunk, don't really have any friends here, and are still in a paddock.
Does he get on tour? Did he get recognised more than you?
It's about the same, but it depends what part of the world we're in, or like what kind of establishment. If we're in like a nightclub, absolutely.
Yeah.
But then if we're like in
a pub,
That's you. Yes.
That's your boys.
If they're over 25, I will get recognised more, and if they're under 25, he will get recognised more.
Yeah.
But we have a pretty big crossover. Usually they see one of us and they go, and then they realise we're both there, and they're like, this is the best thing to ever happen in Hervey Bay.
What was your favourite spot in Australia where you toured?
Favourite spot and favourite show are very different. Favourite spot? I always love Perth.
Yeah, Perth is fun, isn't it?
I'm a big
great audiences.
Pro Perth man.
Yeah.
A lot of people shit on it. It's unfair. I think it's my favourite city in the country. Newcastle is good.
Yeah.
I like Newcastle. But again, people shit on that. And I think maybe over time I'm starting to realise why. I think I was blinded by the first few tours.
Comedy Club there's amazing.
Yes.
So good.
I was blinded by how good the crowds were.
Yeah.
How good the people were, and how good that lighthouse part is on the water.
It's nice.
And then when you go inland, you see the industry. And you're like, oh yeah, a lot of factories. Yeah.
If you were there for 2 weeks, you'd probably be like, I'm going to get out of here.
Yes. Yeah. And favourite show, oddly enough, was Rockhampton.
Nice.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
We did a pub, and there was like...
Was that the heckle show? Sure, a clip you posted was like this, like someone was ruining the show. Like they were yelling out, and I haven't really seen you have bad hecklers before, but this was maybe
I haven't
one.
posted a lot of them yet, because I didn't want to post them on the tour, because I don't want to encourage that behaviour.
Incentivizes it.
But I might post a couple. Yeah, because I was talking to Frenchie about this, and he posts a lot of that.
His crowds are nuts.
And he was talking about it. He's like, yeah, now it's almost like I've invited that energy, where I don't want to encourage that, because it does suck.
Yeah.
And
well, Shooter Williams' show is almost on a fucking UFC event.
Yeah. I don't want it to turn into that.
It's not comedy anymore. It's like UFC, Harvey Bay, 420.
Yeah, I don't want the clip
You don't want that.
of being punched in the face.
If you got punched in the face in a clip,
I would probably post it, because I know that that's going to equal ticket sales.
Yes. And I would stitch it and give live commentary on it.
Thank you. And that helps as well with the ticket sales. So I appreciate that.
But you don't really see that at shows as much.
I had a fight at my Dunedin show.
Really?
But I didn't post it because I don't want that.
Oh,
but it wasn't between me.
Yes.
So there was a guy heckling me.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if I want to say heavily implied. I don't think I have implied. I think I straight up told him, or I was maybe referring to the fact that I didn't think he was all there.
Okay.
In the brain.
Yes.
Due to the lack of cells pinging around.
Yeah.
And he was like grunting. He wasn't really heckling. I was like, if you're going to heckle, like do it in English, because otherwise I don't know what, like, because otherwise it's just, I'm going to have to grunt back at you, and then it's just, now we're banging rocks and we're cavemen. Like, what is this, right? So it was kind of going on, and it got to the point where other audience members were like, shut up, right? And I was like, hey man, can you please be quiet? It's not funny anymore, type thing. And then he was really drunk, and then a guy who was sober, apparently, hadn't had a drink, was just there with his girlfriend, did a Ruben solo, just walked over and tapped the guy on the shoulder politely and said, hey, I'm trying to enjoy the show with my girlfriend. Could you please be quiet? And then that guy's best friend put this sober dude in a headlock, and all of a sudden, just because it's in Dunedin, and I didn't even know that was a shithole, but apparently it is.
Okay.
Because everyone told me afterwards. Like everyone just starts fighting.
This is how they sort it out.
Yeah, everyone just started fighting. And then my girlfriend, Meg, was at the top, and then she tries to break it up, and I didn't know that, because that she was up there. And I do have guys that tour with me, but Tyler was backstage with Blake there, which was under the stage. It was like a theatre, so they didn't know what was going on in the room, because they've seen the show 180 times by this point. They're not watching every show. So they didn't really know what's going on till it was like the actual incident was almost over. And then I think they helped remove, but there was no security at the venue, which next year we're going to make sure of.
Did you see Meg in the scuffle?
No, because again, you know, like you can't see the back of the theatre because the lights are in your face. And my thinking was, if I go up there into the crowd, it's going to cause a bigger situation than this has to be.
Yes.
I was like, if I will come up with the microphone, like half of my brain was like, do it for the TikTok. And then every half of my brain was like, no, this is going to make it so much worse. That sucks. And I felt really bad. But then afterwards, I was kind of apologizing to the crowd. My immediate reaction was like, I'm so sorry, everyone. This has never happened before. I really apologize. This is
Yeah.
not the vibe of my shows ever. No one cared. They were like, oh, they were stoked. They were like, mate, we're so glad you got to see the real Dunedin. And I was like, it's a Tuesday.
A fight definitely, it's like in high school, a fight just like elevates everybody.
Yeah.
If there's a fight afterwards, you're like period 5 and 6, you're like, if maths is fun. Like you've got that adrenaline running through you.
Yeah.
And at a comedy show as well, like you don't never want to see a fight there. But something about it elevates
Didn't
it.
you film one once at a gig in Paran?
Oh, Chapel Street.
Between a comedian and a heckler?
That was bad. Yeah.
I saw that video.
Yes. That was the best gig I've ever had in my life though.
Yeah, but why were you posting that on your feed? You just, instead of helping your comedian friend who's being bashed by a heckler, you just whip out your phone and you're like, think of the views, man.
So it was like 2 a.m. No, I didn't film it. So it was 2 a.m. on Chapel Street.
Even worse.
I know.
You asked someone for the footage so you could post.
The best thing was the guy who did the footage, he's an editor for Channel 7 News.
Right.
And he happened to be there and he just got his camera and was filming. I'm like, hey, dude, can you put that in a Google Drive for me? And he gave it to me. But it's Chapel Street 2 a.m. I was like, I don't want to fucking do this gig. Like, it was kind of like
Gigs are going on after midnight.
So in Melbourne now, a lot for some reason. They're like, yeah, they're going late. I don't know why.
Who's there?
People on Chapel Street. Chapel Street, for some reason, is post-pandemic. It's busy post-midnight.
Wow.
And so I was on at the end. And I was like, oh, man. And so, yeah, this guy gets up and there's like this militant dude who's wearing all camo at the bar. And I'm like, I'm not talking to him during the whole set. You know what I mean? Some people, you have that comedy sense to stay away from them.
A lot of people don't have that sense. But that's good that you do.
This guy was standing at the bar with his fists clenched in military uniform. He looked like Zelensky. So I'm like, I'm not going to touch this guy. And the comedian on stage did. And then it turned into a fight. And then they went outside and were punching on. And the MC's like, fuck, we're just going to keep going with the gig. And I think I had the best set I've ever had in my life because the energy was so electric that I could just ride on that wave. And the crowd was woken up. And it was, I reckon, top 5 gigs I've ever done.
After the fight.
Yes, after the fight.
Yeah. It's good coming in like post-fight. You don't want to be on stage when the fight happens.
I was off stage.
That's good.
Because I got to commentate on it, and have fun with it.
Coming in in the slipstream of violence.
Yes, underrated.
You get an amped up crowd.
Yeah.
I will admit I did crush extra hard after the fight in Dunedin because I think the crowd was like, we're on here. This is a show.
Because you can't cultivate a fight before your show. But like if it happens.
Nor do I want to. Like that you start just playing like death metal before. You try and like get them angsty, fired up. You just play Limp Bizkit, break stuff, so they're all ramped up.
That's what Imagine Shooter Williamson shows were, just like wall of death before the show. You're on this side, you're on that side, run at each other.
Yeah.
Crush.
But I've never witnessed that at any of those guys' shows before. Like I've witnessed heckles and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so funny that everyone kind of, I mean, not everyone, but I guess a lot of people, I would say this is fair, like group all the online guys in together.
Yeah.
From my experience opening for them all, we all have completely different fan bases.
Okay.
Like Neal Kohakar's fans do not give a fuck about me.
Really?
If I'm like on his show or opening for him or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And vice versa. Frenchie's fans are like, oh, you're that guy that was in like a Frenchie sketch once.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah. And they're like, yeah, cool, man. I remember that.
In a weird way, though, I don't see you in that category for some reason. Maybe because I met you. And so, I don't know, like, I met you at a random gig in, like, 2018.
Right.
But, like, those guys, like, Frenchie, and I'm doing Neal show tonight.
But they do gigs. Frenchie does gigs.
And we, yeah. Yeah, and Neal runs gigs in Sydney. You know what I mean? But for some reason, those guys, I don't know, maybe because they've like 5 years older or something. It felt like they were like a little bit, there was a gap.
Yeah, I mean, I used to watch them in high school.
Yeah.
And I remind them of that every day.
It just felt like there was a gap, like a buffer in between.
What, because like they're not your class?
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, I guess you just never met them.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like also we don't have a lot to do with the people on TV.
True.
Unless we're like on a lineup with them.
Yeah.
Like the Pete and stuff.
Yes.
Lovely people, but I've never had anything to do with them, really.
Well, when you first started, I remember with you and Lewis, you guys were kind of getting backlash for posting shit online, which 5 years later is very strange.
Now everyone brings their tripods to gigs.
The same people who were saying that stuff, who were probably in their 30s, I reckon, like they're kind of 10 years above us, who hadn't done much in comedy, are now frantically posting clips onto online platforms. Does that feel weird, like seeing that, or do you just like not even, does that not chart in your brain?
I don't think I really think about it much. I guess it's, man, I don't even see it. Do they put, I don't know. Who are those people?
Well, I feel like even maybe Lewis is more aware of that, like starting and having that kind of stigma of posting online and being on YouTube and Instagram. For some reason, it wasn't, there's a generation who didn't see that as pure, and that ended pretty quick.
I think he even started before I was and experienced a lot of that, or even maybe like was more conscious of it than me because he probably experienced a lot more of that than me.
Yes.
I think I just got maybe some excess. Like I think I got the lashback that was maybe getting at them.
Yeah.
Because I was just associated and friends with them.
Yes.
But I don't think I ever got it personally.
Yeah. Because now
there was a couple of times at gigs where few people who are on TV had said some stuff to me.
To your face?
Yeah.
What?
On stage.
What?
Yeah, I'll tell you the name after. But yeah.
Wait, they were on stage and you were in the audience, so you were waiting to go on?
I'd just been on. Yeah.
And what they say, they're like...
Just like, I guess tried to make fun of me for doing an online comedian.
Oh, that's huge. Because I feel it's like almost a comedy code where, especially at a gig, I kind of get it like talking funny shit about people when
it
behind the back.
And I was very fortunate and lucky that I did quite well.
Yes.
And then the audience was just confused. The audience was like, because they didn't know either of us. The audience don't give a shit. So they're like, okay, wait, because he's like, the person was like, oh, this person's online, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And the audience was like, oh, are they? I had no idea. They just did 10 minutes. Maybe some of the people knew I was, but not enough to warrant that making sense.
That was the best thing though. When I started is that meeting you and Lewis was like, I was like, I want to be like these guys. I want to post content online, and then meeting people who like, you could see the bitterness in them and they're like, nah, don't post online. Someone said that to me, my first ever open mic. They're like, don't post online, do 10 years, come up through this way. And I was like, I don't want to do 10 years before I post a video. And I think you and Lewis, I reckon, don't get enough credit for breaking like, as you guys were like the first line and you were getting shot at and you ran through and then you made it, and it's opened the gate for a whole bunch of comedians to come in behind you and then cultivate their own audiences.
That's kind of you to say, but it's also we weren't I don't think I was the first one doing it because I just looked at what Frenchie and stuff are doing.
Yeah.
And even like Troy Kinney had a channel back in the day. He was kind of doing it. He was kind of doing mainstream stuff and online.
Yeah.
With like Max Price, had like Priceless Productions.
Yes.
I grew up watching that.
It was on Seven Mate.
Yeah, but even before that, they had a YouTube channel, which was like super niche.
Yeah.
But like it was like, and Elliot Loney was like part of their sketch group as well. So a few of them were doing it, but I don't think anyone was doing it with stand up. And then there were comedians though. Like I just looked at like, who are my favorite comedians? And I realized they're all the ones that I'm seeing online. It was Bo Burnham, Jimmy Carr, like, like just the ones that always had clips circulating around. You see Carl Barron clips. Yeah. And the only reason why I really knew who Carl Barron was because I'd watched the one DVD at like a sleepover once when I was a kid about the half-stuck mango where he's wearing a yellow shirt. Everyone's seen that DVD. Yeah. But I just remember seeing him online. And I was like, oh, okay, so all my favorite comedians are online. But I don't think it was an original thought. I didn't feel like I was doing anything groundbreaking. I remember calling Lewis before I'd started my solo podcast in 2017, like, I'm too late, man. I'm too late to podcasting. Wow. Everyone's already got one. And in hindsight, no one had one.
It was early days almost.
I think my podcast used to be in like the top 30 podcasts in Australia every week because there were just only 30 podcasts. I was the lowest rating one. And now you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, I was not too late.
So it's interesting. So you felt, so then there was some animosity towards you just in virtue of being online from comedians who maybe they viewed you as like a threat?
Maybe, but I was so busy. Like, do you know how much work it takes? You know how much work it takes to go to a gig every night and then every day you wake up and you do all the online thing pretty much all day. Yeah. And then you go to a gig and scramble for stand-up. Yeah. I'd really maybe didn't pay enough attention. I think a lot of people would tell me like, dude, a lot of people are talking shit about you. And I'm like, Okay, I haven't.
You want to be that
I
busy.
haven't been aware of it.
Yeah. It's like when I went to the saying before the podcast, I went to the doctor yesterday and like I've got a bad ear because I've been editing videos and the earphones have been pushing on my big ears. And the doctor's like, maybe edit without your earphones in. And he's like, also get smaller ears.
That's good. You're on the hustle grind.
I'm on the hustle grind,
Too
bro.
much editing.
I've got an ear injury from editing.
You're the only comedian working that hard at the moment. I can tell you that. My ears are fine.
What's what I love about watching you come up as well is always been such a nice guy and also being humble. And also I feel like you're so relaxed about it. Like I feel like you're very relaxed and you become successful. But you're not like, this needs to happen or that needs to. You never seem stressed to me. I don't think I've ever seen you stressed.
I definitely get stressed, but it's usually because we try and do too much stuff. Like I think there was a period of the tour where we did 19 shows in 11 days.
Oh.
And we didn't have a break. Like we were doing double shows on Mondays. I think one time I did 3 shows at the uni bar in Wollongong on the Sunday. I did 4 p.m. I was doing matinees. And then I did 2 shows on the Monday, Tuesday, and we did it for 11 days straight.
Yes.
And I just wasn't stressed necessarily because it was good for me.
Yeah.
I was stressed because everyone working with me and coming on the tour didn't get a day off, and I could see it wearing everyone down. And they were cool with it. They were like, no, let's keep working hard, blah, blah, blah. Like, let's just do it and smash out the shows. But that stresses me out of like, oh, is this getting too much?
Well, Meg jumped in to have a punch on, so I guess.
Yeah, I think that she didn't even want to be in the fight. She was just trying to air out some kind of frustration. So I hope it did its job.
That's a crazy amount of shows. Ruben said that when we were driving around.
He's
He's like,
180.
He's like, what Luke's doing now hasn't happened and might not ever happen again.
I actually think, I have not basing this on any fact. It might have been the biggest tour in Australia show-wise, not tickets-wise, obviously.
I think it could be tickets. Why wouldn't it be tickets? Because Carl Barron will do 5 shows and he'll do 1 in Perth, 1 in Sydney, 1 in Adelaide.
No. You need to look at his website. One time we were doing a regional tour of the website.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, up the East Coast.
Yes.
Of Australia. And we're getting a bunch of messages like, sorry boys, can't come to your show in Cairns, Carl Barron's in town. And then we were like, get to Mackay and be like, sorry boys, can't come to your show, Mackay's in town. So we went on his website.
He was following you.
We went on his website. Yeah, we happened to just, obviously clashed with him a few times on that tour. He's doing like 6 nights in a row in Mackay of the 800-seater and no one knows about it. All the time.
So he's not even publicizing it really. Maybe he's on a mailing list and he's like...
I guess they just promote it to the people in Cairns and we don't find out about it, or Rockhampton. He's doing...
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure some of the Comics Lounge showed me is that he's got a mad mailing list from the 90s. Yeah. And it's like after shows, he'd say, hey, sign up. If I'm in your town, I'll email you. I'm not going to post about it. And so you just get an email.
He now posts on TikTok as well.
Yes.
Dude, he's making fuck you money. He must be.
He has
Good on him. That's sick. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Does it feel weird though? I feel like you're not that far away, and you're going to hate me for saying this, from being seen in that bracket of comedians of like, this is an insane tour and it's an insane amount of tickets. And now you're going to the UK. You can't say that you haven't broken an element where you're transcending to a new level.
I think that's very lovely of you to say, but I think it's the grass is always greener type thing.
Okay.
Like, I think when Jim came here, I went and saw him at the exhibition centre in front of 5,000 people. I couldn't do that once. I don't think I could convince 5,000 people to rock up to a show in one night. Maybe throughout a run of shows, if you give them heaps of options and you promoted heaps and like a comedy festival or something, I think I maybe did that many tickets, but not in one night on like a Tuesday.
What if you did though, you didn't tour, right? And you said, I'm going to have 6 months off, and you come back and you're like, Luke Kidgell return show. I reckon with the amount of views you have on TikTok, I reckon you could be like, hey, we're going to do a really big one-off show. And because this was Fergus Neal's idea, he's going to come and do a tight 5 at the top.
And even during the show, it's just your Instagram handle, like the credit to you. You are here because he suggested.
In the contract, I have to dress up as a mouse from Flush to Wet and then as a farmer for the last 2 minutes.
I don't know. I don't even know what to say that. Maybe. I think other people, again, view it as a lot more glamorous. This year's tour, we've booked. There's one thing that's almost an arena.
Nice.
But it's only that because there's only one venue in Townsville.
Where is Townsville? Yeah.
Yeah, which is super weird that the bigger show of the tour might end up being in Townsville.
That's cool.
Because the other ones just have better options of theaters. But we did it at the casino.
Yeah.
And they have this little room in the casino. It was like a 250-seater. I did that a few times. And then we emailed them again, like, hey, can we come back? And they were like, oh, instead of doing like 4 shows, do you want to just try the big room? And we were like, sounds great. We didn't really Google it. Then like a week later, they sent back like the info.
Yeah.
And my brother who books on my shows, he's like, it's a basketball court. And I was like, what? He goes, it's an arena. And I was like, what do you mean it's an arena? I'm like, I can't do an arena in Townsville. What the fuck? And he's like, it's fine. Like, but they can configure it in a way where you're not doing all the seats.
Yes.
They can put curtains up. So I don't think I have to fill, because I don't think I could.
On that logic, I think I may have done an arena inadvertently because I did this corporate gig in Geelong where it was in a basketball arena and it was the hardest gig I've ever done because what they did, it was like a fundraiser for some thing out there and I had seats around me and the mic had a delay. Have you ever had a delayed mic? The mic was like, I'd be like, hello, my name's Fergus Neal. And it'd be like, Neal.
God, I hope it's not like that.
Dude, I bombed so hard. You can't do comedy if you're like reverberating around a stadium.
Yeah.
But that night, my Instagram was like killing it in the basketball stadium. We out here.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But yeah, I don't know, because I actually like doing the smaller shows more.
Yes.
Like the Rockhampton one in front of 130 people was my favorite show of the tour.
Yeah.
And the theaters are fun, but it's fun for a different reason.
Yeah.
It's fun when you walk out and you go, okay, this is pretty cool. There's a lot of people here to see me. That's very lovely. But then you get into like the nitty gritty of like a crowd work bit and you then have to repeat what the person says at the front so the people at the back can hear it.
Yeah, I never had that problem, but I think that you need like low ceilings, like dark, small audiences are really good for crowd work.
And some of my favorite shows of the tour were the encore shows because I was doing like the comedy lounge and I did the laugh lounge, like the comedy clubs all around. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was great.
So you feel like having done this much stand-up, you still feel invigorated by stand-up. You don't feel like, oh man, I need to have a break. You feel like, no, this is fun. Let's keep going.
No, I feel like I love it, but I also feel like I'm not good enough personally, like to be doing the maybe the rooms.
Really?
I feel like my ability to sell tickets overtook my ability. I've been doing it for 7-8 years, but
That's
we had a year
stint.
off though.
Yeah.
7 years? 2015. Yeah, 8 years. I guess coming up to 8, but we had a year off, so 7.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm doing so many gigs and stuff because I now need to be good enough to perform. Do you know how terrifying it is now when I go to like open mics? Like I did the Cellar in St Kilda.
It's a horrific gig.
I thought it was fun. I did good. Like
For people listening, it's a gig at the back of a
bar slash bottle shop.
It's a bottle shop. And there's a little curtain that separates it.
Which is, by the way, the worst business model I've ever seen. You can sit at a bar and drink $10 pints while staring at a fridge full of cheaper beer.
While listening to open mic comedy at the back.
And then there's open mic comedy at the back. And I was doing like maybe performing in front of like 10 people.
Yeah.
And in the back of my head the whole time I was like trying this new bit and I was like, is this good enough for the Townsville show? How's this going to work on a basketball court?
So it's for you're thinking of audiences rather than the comedians they're watching.
Oh, fuck. I don't give a fuck if the comedians laugh in the room. If anything, if they laugh, I usually have fucked up.
Yeah.
Comedians only laugh when you're bombing.
That's true.
The comedians who play to the other comedians is
Poison
very
chalice.
short-sighted.
It's a poison chalice because it's like, oh, I'm killing in front of my friends.
I don't give
You're going to be at the back of the bottle for a long time.
I look at the 3 punters in the room.
Yes.
If there's only 3 punters but 10 comedians, I just, after every joke, I glance at the punters.
Yeah.
And if they haven't laughed, I'm like, that's a cross. That's a brr. If the comedians laugh and they don't, I'm like, that sucks. If they laugh, the 3 people, but the 20 comedians at the back don't, I'm like, tick.
I feel like you've always had that eye, which is good. Because I think like you've always had that ability to be like, what's going to connect to an audience as opposed to what's going to make these 3 comedians watching.
I think I'm always writing for a purpose. I'm always writing to tour it.
Ruben has that as well. Because a gig sometimes Ruben will maybe, I guess, bomb, but then that bit in like a month on his tour will kill. And like, you know what I mean? He always has a long-term vision of this is going to be in my show eventually. So if it doesn't necessarily completely kill here, I don't care because I know it will kill.
But I still wanted to kill at the room. Like I still wanted to kill in front of strangers, which is why I still do gigs all the time. Yeah. But you have to.
Yeah, you have to do gigs. Yeah.
what about if I get up there and I think it's rude to my audience if they've paid like, you know, like $45 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they've come to a theater and I'm just kind of know what I'm doing up there. You need to like at least have 30 minutes that you know full well
Kills.
God is going to work.
Yes.
Otherwise, what have they paid for?
Dave Hughes has a story about that. I think when he was late 20s or something, and he was doing his first ever, I think it was a town hall. It was like a really big venue, but he hadn't done comedy for a month because he'd been doing Glasshouse. So he'd been focusing on content and I guess that kind of thing. And he said first 2 jokes bombed and it was silent. And he said since then, and Dave Hughes is always gigging. Like when I remember him in Sydney,
He works so hard.
Dave Hughes was just on a random gig to like 20 people. Like, what's Hughesy doing here? And I think having that experience of bombing in front of like a couple thousand people, he's like, oh, you actually have to work at stand-up. It can't just happen because you're known.
No. But I still feel like, don't you all? We all have that thing where we're like, you write a shit joke and you're like, oh my God, I'm not, why do people pay for this? Everyone has that self-doubt.
Yeah. Well, stand-up's so hard. Even like when it's good, it's really, really fun. But coming up with a joke is difficult.
Yeah. And there's like, I think there is, I put maybe pressure on myself, but I think there is a lot of extra pressure in writing the jokes now, knowing that there is...
These are huge audiences.
Well, there's a start date for my tour already. It's all booked in. So it's like, it hasn't even gone on sale, but I know the date that I have to have the show by. It's like May 30 is the date. So I've just been working towards this date. And this year I've been focusing on the special, which we shot like only a few weeks ago. So my brain wasn't fully in the new show yet because I was still like, I find it hard to move on until I've finished the old one, until I can actually put it behind me. So as soon as I shot it, I literally walked off the stage and the last shot of the special and like relief that like I never have to do all that again. But then immediately everyone was like, you crushed it. And like, or everyone was like trying to be nice to me, like, congrats, like you did really well. Like, you must be happy with that. And then the first thing I said, I was like, oh fuck, now I have to write a new show. It's like the first thing I thought of. I couldn't
That's
even...
a good energy to have though.
Sit in the moment of for 2 seconds of it. I had friends backstage waiting for me, like congratulations, and all I was thinking about is like, oh my God, I've only got 4 months to like work on this new thing.
But that's a good energy because then you force yourself to write a new hour as opposed to being like, you know, there are some comedians who are really big in like the early 2000s who are just doing best of shows at comedy festivals now. They're not doing a new shtick. It's like, oh sweet, you've seen me in 2007, here's the same show. Not there's anything wrong with that, that's what people want to do, but I think it wouldn't be as fun.
I want return customers. I want people to come every year. But I'm not going to do the year circuit from now on. Okay. This will be the last one I do in Australia. And then I'm going to go overseas in the next year. Yeah. Like, next year I'm not going to do Australia. Okay. Because I can't keep just milking the same markets overnight. You can't just keep going back to Bundaberg and expecting them to show up.
I don't know.
I think it's just like better to give it a break and then you get back. And then
so you're planning on going overseas now?
Well, we're doing the UK in a couple of weeks. Yeah. And then so this year is going to be UK finishing off the Cheers to That tour. It's very confusing. And then my tour will be from like May to like October here, doing a big tour again. And then New Zealand at the end of the year. And then I'll tour that same show, hopefully in the UK again, Canada, and hopefully America. Wow. But America's the visas are just annoying.
Is that something on your horizon where you would be like, oh, let's base in...
Well, in Europe.
In, say in the UK for a year, America for a year, and just see if I can crack this market fully?
I don't know if I want to live there. I think I'll just like tour. But the way I tour is like I tour all the places. I want to go to like 30 places in the UK. Like I want to do like not just London, Manchester and stuff. I want to do like Bristol, Bath, Cardiff. Like I'm doing a few of those this year. I think this year we're doing like 15 places, but I want to do like 30 because it's just so much fun. Yeah. Like why wouldn't you, if you had the opportunity to just go overseas and just do comedy all the time, I think that's a fun way to spend your 20s.
How big are the audiences in the UK? Like do you find your TikTok videos, is it like 25% are from the UK and like 75
I think it's like 18% from the UK.
That's
but
solid.
Only 28% are from Australia.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I'm biggest in the US, but per capita I'm bigger here. They have way more people. Yeah. So
why wouldn't you do tours in the US if you have that market there?
It's just like a pain to get the visa. You have to get the extraordinary talent visa. Yes. And it's much easier to go to Commonwealth.
What a sick visa to have though.
Yes. But it's much easier to go to Commonwealth countries.
Yeah.
It'll be easier to get into Canada because they're in the Commonwealth. Yeah. and it's easy. But like I will be able to. But I was talking to like a management company for a bit. It was a whole thing. But you essentially, what I've heard is you have to be making someone. This is really boring. Well, anyone who doesn't
really
care
inside
about comedy.
tech, yeah.
But you have to, I think, be making someone money over there. This is my understanding.
Got to help their economy.
It might be wrong. They have to do a little logbook of you, of everything you do when you're over there. So in order for someone to be doing that, you kind of have to be making someone money.
Yeah.
So you have to have a tour booked in or a purpose. And then I don't really want to go on the tourist visa, get caught gigging and stuff and ruin it and then get banned for the country forever because I plan to work there one day.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky one. But I've been talking to a few other comedians about it, and there is ways you can do it.
Yeah. I feel like because your audiences, it was like this, and it kept going up and up and up. And then I don't know if it was like 2020 or 2021, we're just shot. Did you feel that? Like, did you feel your audience changing? And you're like, whoa, this is changing. This is getting bigger. And I'm doing bigger venues.
It was the year that when we were avoiding COVID, Meg and I didn't do the 2021 lockdown here. We left and just started touring. And on that tour, I think it was out of necessity, I was just grinding all day. Like in the car, I was editing videos because I didn't have an editor either. They were all back at home. So I was filming the shows and then I'd be dumping the footage on in the car while she drives and I'm editing it before the next show, trying to get the clip up because I didn't really have much chance to sell the shows.
Yes.
And we just booked like the Regal for the first time.
Wow.
It was like 1,000-seater. I was like, I'm not going to fill this unless I post heaps of videos.
Yes.
So I just started going ham.
Yeah.
And then it just started snowballing. And it was kind of helped because I was touring, getting clips every night, then posting them, touring, posting them. And then we were adding shows. So all of a sudden it was giving me like more momentum. Like, okay, more shows means more videos, I guess. Not that I force it, but it just means more opportunities for something funny to happen. And then I think it got to this year where I did 180 shows. You don't have to post a clip every show. You can just, sometimes I post like a clip 1 in every 6 shows I get a clip out of. People come to my shows like, can't wait to see that on your TikTok. Like, that will not be on my TikTok. Like, no. Me talking about you working at Coles is not good.
What's it been like?
That was a Shepparton exclusive.
What's it been like? I'm always interested when there's like a relationship adjacent to like the rise and success. Like, has it been cool going on that journey with Meg and having like someone there watching this and being like, this is fun, like to see it grow and to have someone touring with you? I feel like you guys would be like in the retirement village at like 80 and be looking back and being like, remember that tour and that 180 date tour? And I mean, Blake Pavey won't be in the retirement home with you.
He wishes.
But you guys, I think looking back, it'd be like a really cool thing.
Yeah, I guess. It's cool because my brother now works for me.
Yes.
With me, not for me.
I've had a few comedians say that they're like the Kidgell brothers, dynamic. Because one's a great comedian, one's an accountant.
Yes.
And they're unstoppable together.
But now I also like employ my friends as well.
Yes.
Like one of my best mates from high school comes on tour with me.
Yeah.
So it is cool getting to share it with people around you. But I think that's also part of the reason as to why it's fun still and going well.
Yeah.
Is because I'm very selective about the people I have around me on tour. Not even on tour, just in general.
Yeah.
Just because like you want a good environment around you. Otherwise, it's kind of, you don't want someone there that's like dead weight.
You don't want to become a drag.
No.
Yeah.
But I've been very fortunate with the people who've been around me.
Jack Post said that last night because he was saying how he met his wife when he was on Hamish and Andy Gap Year in America. So they lived in New York for a year. And so Hamish and Andy just brought all their friends. Yeah. And they just lived there for a year and had the best time ever. Like,
it's the best thing to do.
Because Channel 9's like, you're the biggest show on TV. You can have as much money as you want. So like, cool, we'll just bring friends from high school to work on the show.
Yeah.
And they would just go to comedy clubs at night and watch.
Isn't that what that company is? Like Radio Karate. It's just like them, like, didn't
Ryan Shelton
and Ryan go to school together and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I think there are films for them also goes to school.
Yes, but it's such a cool thing, yeah.
Speaking of Jack Post.
Yes.
I have a gripe. I listened to the episode.
Yeah.
And this, I guess it's more directed at Jack rather than you.
Yeah.
I want to preface this. I love Jack, right?
Yeah.
We filmed a sketch together a couple of weeks ago.
What did he say?
He, on your podcast, I don't know if you remember this, referred to me as a fanboy. Oh, yeah. When it was, I kind of noted, you guys talked about me for half the fucking episode. So
Did we?
does he want to, yeah.
I feel like
talked about
half
Lewis
of it he
and
was
I.
weeping, and then half of it we're talking about Luke and Lewis.
Yeah. So currently, who have we talked about? We have talked about Ruben a lot.
Ruben's come up.
We are Ruben Solo fanboys
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
But I think he said that, I'm like, oh, did you meet Luke in the business? He's like, no, I met Luke when he was a fanboy at Hamish and Andy events.
Which is also
So
not
I
true.
just- I just imagine you drinking like a Pepsi Max at the Nova Studios, the Fox Studios.
I actually met him at Sin, but what is disappointing, I heard him say that, and I was like, clearly he didn't make much of an impression. He came on our show, back at Community Radio,
Yeah.
and then I think I then met him again
When he panelled
at
for
one
you
of
and
their
Lewis.
events. Yeah, but then I did meet him at a Hamish and Andy event.
Yeah.
I went to it with one of my mates from running. Remember they did the thing where it was very funny. At Max Watts, they did a crowd surfing show where they crowd surf for 2 hours on a radio show.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was part of the crowd.
Yeah.
And I did chat to Jack afterwards, thinking at the time like, oh, me and Jack are cool. I've met him at Community Radio. Clearly now, no, he did not remember that. But yeah, they've always been very big supporters.
Yeah.
I think he said it as well in the episode. That's right. And it's funny how he interpreted that. He was talking about, you were both talking about there's like a certain level of confidence that the online guys have.
And bravado.
Sure.
Because he says that I have that, which is interesting. Because he's come to see, I'm not sure what my stand-up is giving off. But he's like, I find your generation is more arrogant than his generation.
How fucking humble was their generation?
I feel like, I don't know. I think like there's something about it. Like I feel like
I definitely see what he's
we put
talking
ourselves out more. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Than what they did.
I mean, you have to. You can't.
You can't rely on a network. We couldn't all have Channel 9.
But imagine if we had like 100K followers on the gram and we were just on our stories like, yeah, we fucking suck.
You can't
Like,
do that on social media. You can only
That's
do
what
that.
podcasts are for.
Yes.
The whole podcast would be like, I fucking hate my comedy special. I'm not good at stand-up. Why do people see?
Yeah. But I think that's a generational thing where Hamish and Andy were killing it and they were always like so humble, but they didn't have to promote themselves because the network would do that for them.
Yeah.
we
All
don't
they had
have
to do
that.
was be like the likable guys.
Yes.
Which is also still a good thing to
Yeah.
do, I think.
Oh, it'd be weird if Hamish and Andy came out one day and they're like, fuck the industry, fuck you, we're the best.
But I loved the way they went about it.
Yeah.
They were, I was a fanboy, not only of their content, but I just also really liked the way they approached
Totally.
like not the industry or comedy or just being, it's so hard to be on record for that long being likable.
Yes.
Genuinely.
Who doesn't know Hamish? Who doesn't like Hamish and Andy?
Yeah. And they're incredibly likable for 20 years? That's it. That's good.
Yeah.
But also it's because they're also just nice guys. But yeah, something Jack said, he was like, it was funny how he interpreted that. I think he said so Jack Post helped Lewis and I do demos before we started on radio, and which was very lovely of him. And he said like we came in with confidence even though we were quite green and new at the time. That's so funny that he interpreted it like that because I was shitting myself. I don't know what false confidence we were giving off. Maybe Lewis had a bit of swagger about him. I remember being there going, why the fuck are we in a radio studio? And he's like remembering like, yeah, those boys with a lot of confidence. I was like, I'm pretty sure I was crapping my dacks.
Well, that's probably a good thing because the internal world and the external world are completely different.
Yeah, so now I'm like real self-conscious. Like,
Really?
what vibe am I giving off to people that they think I'm hella confident? Because I feel like most people who know me are like, you are the most self-criticizing, self-destructive
Okay.
person I've ever met.
I've always seen you as super humble. But I mean, if Jack Post says that, I'm not going to argue with him.
Yeah, no, I'm a piece of shit. Listen to Jack.
I better message him to come on to clear his name.
Yeah. But that's funny. Oh, and I had one more note. I know I've talked a lot. Sorry.
No, I'm interested in the gripe.
No, this isn't. The gripe's done.
Okay, damn.
Gripe's finished.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
The rest of the podcast was really great. No, I actually enjoyed listening. I wasn't annoyed. I thought that was just cool that someone thought I was doing well.
Yes.
Because that was not the way I perceived.
In his stature as well.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that was his perspective on it because I just never, in my head, I was like, why are we in the building? Who gave us a radio show? The whole time.
You and him are quite similar in that I think you both have had enormous success, but then you both don't perceive yourselves as having this huge success.
Yeah, because the grass is always greener. Like,
Yeah.
you look at what, like, but There's a lot of comedians doing really well. I think you're ignoring a lot of people selling a lot of tickets. You know who moves tickets? Jim Owen.
Jim Owen. Yeah,
he tours regionally.
Yes.
Ursula crushes it. There's so many. I could name.
There's heaps, which is exciting.
It's awesome.
It keeps on getting bigger and bigger. I feel like there's so many more opportunities to sell tickets. I think
it's like the tide rises all ships.
Yes.
I think it's great. I think a lot of people view it like competitive. Like, why is so and so selling tickets? A lot of comedians view it like that.
Changing now, I reckon.
Yes.
Not as much.
Dude, backstage has been delightful recently. I don't know if it's because people are sucking my asshole, but people are really nice to me. And it kind of makes me feel...
Was this a Keg comedy?
No, they're always nice to me. That's the thing. I've never really had that many problems come up.
Yeah.
In my brain, comedians are usually nice.
Yeah.
But maybe now they're extra nice. I don't know what they think they can get out of me.
I ever been? I'm trying to think if I've ever been mean to you.
I don't think so.
When we first met.
No, I always thought you were really lovely.
I think because you were doing running, and I'm like, oh, he does running. You know, there's something that remote. We got some camaraderie.
But did you actually know who I was when?
I don't. You were big, but I don't think I really knew who you were. I'm like, oh, he does online.
Sure.
But everyone's in their own world. That's the interesting thing, don't you reckon? It's like people who criticize other people in that sense, interpersonally, it's almost like you've got too much time on your hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but also I think that's what the best thing about stand-up is, regardless of what other people are doing once they leave this room.
Yes.
We'll all have to do 10 minutes here in front of the same crowd, and it doesn't really matter. The crowd doesn't ever care. You've seen it happen before. The big comedians get announced on at the lounge, the crowd goes crazy, and if they're not funny 2 minutes in, the crowd turns probably even quicker because they have an expectation. Like, and that never happens with me.
Yeah,
at the Comics Lounge stuff, they don't know who I am because they're like all 40 and stuff. But like at the Comics Lounge, but when like Dave Hughes and stuff gets announced on, I feel bad for those dudes that are on TV because the crowd's like, holy shit. Dave Hughes is here, Tommy Little's here, whatever, whoever's there.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, they're just there to try new stuff.
Yeah.
And I do not envy them at all that then they have to...
Louis C.K. did that.
Perform in front of fans.
Yeah.
When they're trying new shit.
Louis C.K. spoke about that on Joe Rogan. He's like, I did the Comics Lounge in Melbourne, Australia. I didn't give a fuck.
That's probably bullshit.
You reckon?
That
he killed.
I just heard a lot of people in the room go, it was really exciting.
Okay.
Maybe I heard that from other comics that were standing at the back though. I find it hard to believe that people who are at a comedy club on like a Tuesday didn't know who Louis C.K. was.
Yes. What's the third thing you were going to say about the Jack Post podcast? You're like,
nothing more about that. Yeah. Just earlier, I think you were saying you did the bullet analogy of like, where were the first line of the internet comedians?
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, that's, you know, and you said that someone told you that you shouldn't post stand-up for the first few years.
Yes.
Not something I disagree with now looking back on the
Amazon special.
There's a few things, there's a few things I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
And there's a few things that I posted that I'm not very proud of. But I guess if I didn't post those things, I probably wouldn't be.
You needed to post those clips to get to the clips you're posting now.
Yeah, I guess.
Are you the one editing are you the one who has the intuition for what will work and what will not work?
Yeah, I have like guys who help me edit. They pretty much edit most of the stuff, but I like choose.
You select it.
Yeah. I'm like, but we all kind of do it together. Like they're also at the back of the room filming it.
Yes.
Every show. They tour with me. So they're kind of like, oh, that bit was good. Not that bit. That bit. But I think a lot of people think I do a lot more crowd work at my shows than I do. I think I just do like 10 minutes every night.
Yeah.
And then it's not very hard to choose if there was a good bit or not. There's usually like one of 3 interactions to choose from.
Yes.
So, but I guess that's all I post. So why wouldn't you think that?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. Do you post bits or not really?
Oh, I will start to when the special comes out. I haven't posted anything since pre-COVID. Yeah. Since I started to get a bigger following.
Okay. Yeah. Is it just because I guess crowd work, then you're not like expiring bits you have?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to make the show good that I was touring, so I couldn't afford to burn it. I posted like a bit about COVID because I knew that was going to not be relevant. I post like, if I write a bit, like I wrote a bit about the Wiggles once. I only did it for like 10 shows after they added all the band members. I was like, I think
I saw that.
Yeah, sometimes do bits on stage if they're like relevant.
Yes.
And then I'll like, clip that.
Chicken Kiev.
You remember that one? Yeah. The Russia, Ukraine. Yeah. Always good to get a white Australian comedian's take on the conflict. My big take was they were trying to get something about chicken Kievs in Kiev. Look, I don't even remember the bit. I just remember it crashing in Port Macquarie one night, and I was like,
pointing into the conflict.
And never do it again.
Oh man, Luke, you got to go to Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I do.
It's been nearly an hour 20, which is awesome.
Oh, dude.
I would usually ask guests what to plug, but I feel like you're killing it too much. Plugging your show. What about Keg Comedy? I'm emceeing that. That'd be fun.
Once a month.
You started a new comedy room.
Well, it's kind of everyone. I guess thinks it's me. It's mainly my brother. But yeah, that's good. Cooper's in first Thursday of every month.
Why did your brother want
Melbourne.
to start a comedy room?
Mainly for like Blake and I to get more practice in.
Yes.
You know, bit of him going, you guys suck. Can you guys get better at this so I can tour you in bigger venues? I don't know. No, I think he just wants to become more of part of like the comedy scene.
Okay.
He wants to be maybe a little more finger in the pulse because it's like a new world to him.
Would he ever do stand-up or?
No, but there is a show where I can't get an opener in Broome next year because it's like the Northern WA.
Yes.
No one else is coming up.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of going a little trip there for a week with Meg and I and him and his girlfriend.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I need an opener, Jack, so you better start working on 5. And he reckons he's going to do it,
Nice.
but he'll bail. There's no way.
Is he older or younger than you?
He's older.
Yeah.
He's not
Is he proud of you?
a theatre guy. Wow. I think so.
I'm just interested because it's
Yeah.
I feel like it's cool when your family does well.
My mum works for me too.
Really?
Yeah,
What does your mum do?
She packs the merch and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then dad's desperately trying to get hired as security because he just wants to be a part of it. He's like, well, if this is going to be the family business, what is my role?
Are your parents aware of how big you've gone online? I feel like some parents don't know.
I flew them over to watch me in Perth because they'd never seen me do a theatre before. So they came for the week. I think that was the first time they were like, oh, this is going well.
Yeah.
They knew. They're not,
Because remember, didn't you say your dad's a teacher, isn't he?
Yeah.
So his students wouldn't.
Yeah. He's primary school, so they teach younger.
Yeah.
It is concerning when some of them have mentioned it to him. I get comments in some of my videos like, your dad used to teach me.
Nice.
And I just ignore it because like, I don't want the heinous things I say
Yes,
to reflect on
your
him.
family. Yes.
Because it's not his problem.
That's how I feel like.
I'm a fuckhead. That's my problem. It's unfortunate for him that we share the same last name. I should have changed it like Ruben did and done a stage name.
Ruben's changed his whole name though, because his name is Athanasios Solopatios.
Is his middle name Ruben?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I think I did.
It was a long tour of him where we're like, what's your real name?
I remember like a few times he sent through invoices and I was like, can you stop using these made up names? No, I
Coming
didn't.
across really prejudiced towards Greeks.
No, I did not say
This
that.
isn't Aussie enough. Anglo it up a bit.
Yeah. But sorry, I feel like this has all been about me. And we didn't talk about any running.
Well, I mean,
times.
I haven't seen you for like, I feel like a year and a half, so I'm interested in
I'm
what
interested in what you're doing.
Mate, it's the same old.
I didn't shut the fuck up for an hour.
What I was doing in 2018 is what I'm doing now.
No, you're doing really well.
I'm doing bigger gigs, which is good. And I'm doing my debut show at the Comedy
Not
Festival.
even that, this podcast,
Yes.
the clips, you've rebuilt your TikTok account.
Yes,
I saw.
true. Yeah, true. I guess we're nearly 50K.
Yeah,
I reckon we're on good momentum.
you're doing very
It's
well.
been like a couple $500,000 clips lately, which I feel like we could get to 100K.
Still trying to pick. Are you going for like a?
I don't know who I am.
Oh, oh wow. Well, looks like Cancel the Chili Peppers. We need to explore this.
Sometimes I'll do like politics and social friendly Geordies-esque comedy. And then I'll do
I was
like,
about to say, you're kind of like a hipster-friendly Geordies.
well, then a clip will go viral where I talk about hard rubbish. So like
Which I love.
So I like the balance of it.
But Jordan didn't always used to do just political commentary.
Now
Early
he is.
days.
I mean, now he's fled from it.
He's in too deep now.
No.
But back in the day, he would just
Yeah.
do characters,
Yes.
and sketches and stuff. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't want to go. I was very conscious going into it where I'm like, I don't want to be too much one thing, too much another thing.
but also people do only like one thing over and over. The main reason as to why I've started doing maybe a little bit better in the last few years, because it was kind of, you're right, it was on like a slow incline.
Yes.
Right. And then it kind of did have a boom. It's when I just stopped trying at everything else. I stopped doing YouTube.
Yeah, you stopped doing sketches?
I stopped doing podcasts for a long time.
Yes.
Like I stopped my personal podcast. I just focused on one thing.
True.
And then all of a sudden people only want one thing from you. Because I was like, why is David Dobrik so popular? And then I was like, oh, he's just done one thing for 4 years. And I looked at all the biggest creators in the world. I was like, oh, Logan Paul, they did one thing for 3 years. David Dobrik did one thing for 3 years. And I was like, I'm just going to do one thing for 3 years.
That's interesting.
And it worked.
This might be the last podcast.
I still do podcasts now.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So yeah, well, I mean, you're doing a new one, with Meg.
Yes.
Which I watched the first episode. It's very funny.
Oh, thank you.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. We both kind of felt a little like, not rusty, but like, ooh, like this is new because I haven't done one in like 9 months.
Yeah, you've been solely stand up for a long, long time now.
It was a long tour.
Yeah,
yeah. It doesn't even feel like that long. It felt like 2 months, but I was just away all the
True,
time.
maybe I'm too scattered because I've got stand up, political commentary, podcast clips. But I'll get people who are like, oh, I saw you in that podcast clip with like Olivia Deeb or someone. Like one of them will go viral, you know? And then someone will be like, I saw that stand up clip where you talked about Jaden.
I think it is good to diversify slightly, but I think 2 things is the most you
True,
can
I've
do.
got too much going on.
I used to have my finger in a lot of pies.
Yes.
There was one point
I think
in
I've
my life-
emulated you in a bit. I'm like, what you were doing in like 2016, 17, I'm trying to...
There was one time where I did 2 podcasts. I did a solo one, Luke and Lewis, and then we were also doing fill-in radio on the weekends.
And you're doing stand-up.
We're doing stand-up.
And you're doing sketches.
Touring stand-up and like gigs around and sketches.
Yeah.
And then occasionally we'd also like, I would do reviewing The Bachelor and
Yeah,
stuff.
I remember that.
Like I would, and then I
That was
got some-
old Luke Kidgell.
Oh, one week that year,
Maths.
I did 9 podcasts, and a couple of them were guests.
Yeah.
And then I had to take a good look at myself, and I was like, "What are we doing 9 podcasts a week for? Who is this for? Who has time to listen to 9 podcasts?"
True.
So I was like, "Let's tone it back." And I was like, "What do I like? Stand up.
Yes.
Let's just do that."
Well, I mean, I guess like I podcast feeds into my stand up, you know, and I talk to people who I like and who I know. So like if I can do that and then do stand up, it kind of feeds into the one thing.
Yeah, I think having a secondary thing that complements your first thing in whatever you do creatively is good. Like
I'll do
if you-
one sketch every 6 months where I'm like, I want to do this, you know, this will be fun,
Yeah.
you know. But like Ruben Solo, he's like stand up and sketch,
Yes.
you know. He did a podcast and he nearly wanted to kill himself at the end of it, so he stopped, which is a good thing, you know, to be like, cool.
His podcast was so funny.
Yes.
Look, fair enough.
The
that
detail.
fair enough that he stopped it because it was driving him insane.
Yeah.
But it was the quality of it.
Yes.
Was so good. It was so good that it actually ran him into the ground.
He was like to me, he's like, what are you doing on your podcast? Because you just riff. I'm like, I riff for 20 minutes. Sometimes I get a friend to come and talk on it. And he's like, I'm forensically coming up with sound beats and like,
Yeah, no.
I
Can't
couldn't do
that.
it. No,
I just
too much.
we turn on the cameras, hit record, and whatever comes out. And
If it's not fun, stop doing it is a good mentality.
absolutely. And no, I think you're doing very good stuff.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I'm looking forward to Cake Comedy.
I'm also looking forward to it. It's going to be
You see,
good.
man, you probably haven't
You're
seen me do
touring
stand-up
as
for a
well.
while. Yes. Well, I'm
Can you
doing
plug that?
I'm doing the Comedy Fest. So it'll be 23 nights. And then I'm going to announce Sydney, Brisbane shows, which will be fun. Probably just do 2 in Sydney, 2 in Brisbane, which would be cool.
You on it? I don't know how to say that.
Oh, consecutive? I'll do like, do you mean like,
Isn't it called Consailers? I did the room. I should know. Anthony's room in Sydney.
Skinner's Room?
Skinner's room.
Yeah. I think it'll be, it's a gay club upstairs.
Downstairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be good. So I'll announce that hopefully next week.
It's a good room.
Yeah, which would be cool. Fun times.
And thanks so much for having me on.
Thanks so much for coming, bro.
I feel like I've actually I get really self-conscious that I talk too much.
You say that, I remember, I listened to the last podcast. You said that 4 years ago as well.
Good to see I
It was a
haven't
good
evolved.
episode.
It's good to see I haven't changed my... You'd think if I'm so insecure about something, I'd stop doing it.
Oh, we'll edit the shit out of this.
Thank you. Hard cut to everything
My
you
editor
say.
is amazing. I'm like, he'll send me back a podcast. I'm like, this is good.
Yeah. Is that Pat?
Yes.
He came to the last cake.
He's
comedy.
great.
He is.
Yeah. He's the person who made me go viral.
Good on Pat.
I owe him. Geelong boy as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. All right. See Luke live. See me live. Come to Cake Comedy. We're out.